Hi, I'm Fred Crellin from Art Imagination Airbrushing. I'd like to show you our latest stencil, Dragon Skin, currently available only from ourselves at Art Imagination Airbrushing. I'm going to demonstrate to you just how easy and effective this stencil is to use. The stencil itself comes in three. What you've got is one large, one medium and one small. What I'd like to do is to show you how effective this stencil is to use. On my piece of paper I'm going to load my Kalani with FW. I'm going to paint a light covering of green over the background. Now using the stencil, I'll place this in the middle, and then again using a stronger amount of green, over the top will create the dragon skin scales. Now the clever thing about this particular stencil is it is a repeat pattern, or part of a repeat pattern, something that they use in the pattern and fabric industry. For example, material, wallpaper, a repeat pattern. Clever thing about this stencil is this line here corresponds to this line here, and this line here corresponds to this line here. So here's the tessellation bit. If I remove this out of the way, there is my dragon skin scales. If they then move this stencil all the way over to the other edge and carefully line this up, like so, hold that in place, I can now repeat that pattern seamlessly. Basically, with just this stencil, you could in essence completely cover a wall. There you go. Remove that out of the way. And then the same on the other side. Usually good practice to avoid any overspray. Just a little bit of additional masking. So there's the side to side. Now let's do top and bottom. Again, line it up at the top. Put it in exactly the right position. Repeat at the top. And again at the bottom. Again putting it in exactly the right position. And just to show you that even the corners can be matched up as well. So you get the true repeat pattern throughout the whole image. Line that up. Like so. Okay. I'm now going to place my stencil back exactly over where I was before, now that I've got the main background parts in, to start putting in some detail. Now if you can imagine a dragon skin, each of these separate scales has a curved surface. Imagine how the light hits that curved surface. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start adding yet more shade, as it were, to the airbrush. This time I'm using my Infinity airbrush by Harder and Steenbeck. This is fitted with a 0.15mm needle and nozzle. I'm going to imagine my light source is coming from the top left, so basically on each of the scales the shadow is going to be bottom right. And for each scale you add an additional layer of paint. So there we go. I've built up on the one side each of the scales, just for that central area. What I can do now is exactly the same, moving the stencil over some extra parts, again lining the stencil up like so, and doing exactly the same for this section as well. So you're basically working in one section at a time. Now using opaque white by Hansa, it's the Pro Colour range of colours, I'm going to add a few drops of this white paint to my airbrush to create the highlight areas. Place some of this into my airbrush, and I'm now going to paint in the highlight areas on each of the scales of the stencil once I lay that in the correct position. So again, light source top left, don't forget that. Sure that lines up exactly. So for each of the scales, to basically give them that three-dimensional look, just catching the top left-hand corner of each one, moving in slightly to create that three-dimensional look. Here we go, putting the final touches now onto the highlights. And there we are so far. Okay, finally to finish. What we're going to do now is just going to add a little more depth to our dragon skin design. We're going to add a little bit of De La Rani's Sepia, again a transparent colour, just to do the low light areas. As a rule of thumb, I tend not to use black to darken anything down. I like to use a natural colour, so on this occasion I'm just going to use Sepia just to pick out the darkest areas. So a few drops of this into my airbrush, place my stencil over once again. Exactly the right position, and I'm just going to catch again the bottom right hand corners if the light source again is coming from the top left. I'm just going to catch the very bottom right hand corners of each of the scales, and this will add just another dimension of depth to the dragon skin. So there you have it. Using three colours: olive green, sepia and white. It's as easy as that.